Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to For Strategy Gaming. Today I'm going to be commentating a series of games for you between Grubby and DarKFoRcE. We can see over here at the 12 o'clock position we do have Grubby as the green Protoss, and in the 6 o'clock we have the blue Zerg here, DarKFoRcE. So yes, Grubby versus DarKFoRcE, Protoss versus Zerg. This is going to be a series between these two players. This is game number 1 in the series. We're going to be starting things off here on Metalopolis. And yeah, how's everyone doing today? Everything has been going great. I'm really loving this new schedule that we've got going on. I need organization to be able to be the most effective and the most efficient that I can be. So the fact that we've set up a nice schedule right now is making things really nice and streamlined for me, having clear indication as to what's going to get done on a daily basis. I think it's great for myself. I think it's great for you guys. I think it's great all around. Everyone should be happy. And look at that statue. What is that? A wolf statue? That's a silly looking wolf. Anyways, yes, probe moving on across right now. Going to be scouting first this position, then we'll be moving right into DarKFoRcE's base after the fact. Let's take a look at what DarKFoRcE is going to be doing. Going to be seeing either a pool and or an expansion sometime very soon. Overlord Scout spotting the wrong position. We'd like to see him hightail in the other direction. There he goes. Going to be heading straight on over, and we'll be crossing past Grubby's base shortly. We can see there the gateway at the wall off right there at the front of Grubby's base. Of course, very necessary against any Zerg opponents. Back over here, we can see Grubby moving on into the base and going to be trying to shoo away that probe, that drone rather. He may have thought he could get a couple shots off and also try to deny that expo. But as you can see, that expo is not coming quite as of yet. DarKFoRcE is, of course, starting off here on one base. Extractor up and running, going to get that saturated, get as much Vespene as possible. It will give him enough for that 100 Vespene that he needs for the metabolic boost as soon as that spawning pool does pop. But he knows, the thing is, Grubby knows that that expo is next, so he's going to be chilling out around here on patrol and trying to block it. Very smart, very wise of him indeed. Over here, taking a look inside of Grubby's base, we do have a drone scout moving across. Actually, going to be trying to drop that cyber core. Look at that. Sweet, sweet action. Dropping that cyber core, preventing it from being dropped, and actually forcing it to be put over here. This is actually going to mess up the wall off quite a bit. Grubby's going to have to come up with some other sort of wall formation. Maybe another gateway, maybe a pylon somewhere over here. But some other way of forming this wall is going to be necessary because he does want that full wall off with the exception of one space for that zealot. Can see the drone just moving on across. To take a look back over here at the expo action. That's going to be happening soon, I would have to imagine. We've got the Zerglings on the board, so they're going to be shooting away that probe, and then there's going to be that drone followed immediately after. Should be pulling out about 200. There it is, 200, moving on down, and then dropping it right after that. So Zerglings taking care of that probe, making him run back home. We do have this one Zergling over here, maybe going to be grabbing the tower, and that tower as well. Look at that, DarKFoRcE grabbing the tower, so necessary. Having that scouting vision, why not? Why deny yourself that at all? 7X core now in Warp Gate research coming on through. A sentry is being chrono boosted through, and the drone's going to want to head out of there soon. He just definitely does not want to lose his life. We can see both assimilators are taken right now for Grubby, so not going to be going with any sort of one gas build. Back over here inside of DarKFoRcE's base, first queen is up, second queen coming on through. I'm not making any more Zerglings, not necessary at all, of course. As we know that Zerg players really prefer to drone up if possible, only making Zerglings if 100% necessary. Looks like we did lose that drone, unfortunately. There is its, looks like its spinal column right there in the pool of blood. I didn't even realize that that graphic was added. Zergling chasing around, doing some additional scouting here. He, of course, wants to check for an expo, and let's keep an eye on as to what Grubby is going to be intending on doing. We can see 2 gates right here, and that pylon looking like a 3-gate expand. That seems like a reasonable call right now. I can say I'm reasonably sure that that's exactly what's going to be happening. 3-gate expand, so popular, so effective, really strong build. You're seeing so many Protoss players do it in the PVT and the PVZ matchup, actually working in both of those. Doesn't really work in PvP. Definitely a lot harder to pull off because you get 4-gated pretty much every freaking game. So really no way of doing that. So anyways, yes, DarKFoRcE does have this expo up and running right now. Pulled down a couple of workers for saturation, usually about between 4 and 7, I guess is what I would say. There we go, 3 more being pulled down, so going to be seeing 7. So there you have it. Between 4 and 7 is exactly what we saw here from DarKFoRcE. Over here, we also have this Roach Warren coming on in. We can see that gas cut down drastically just on 2 gatherers right now. A metabolic boost is now finished, of course, so that's scouting with these speedlings going to be much easier. He's going to make it into the main. Yes, he does, making it right into the main, and he's going to be checking for production buildings. He's going to be seeing pretty much what he expects, though. He's pretty sure that he's seeing a 3-gate expand, and now he's just confirming that. And why not? You know, no reason not to. For all you know, there could be a Stargate in here. Grubby could be going for some very odd, strange build, and that's the kind of thing that you want to check for. You want to be aware of what's going on. Scouting, so important, so necessary. Taking a look right here, very likely that this is going to be a sacrificial overlord in a couple more minutes into the game, maybe between 1 and 3 minutes. Usually around, I'd say around the 7:30 to 9-minute mark is when you see Zerg players pull in that sacrificial overlord. It would be sooner, actually, if the Zergling didn't get in there. He'd probably be pulling in with that right now. But since he just had the Zergling Scout, he's going to wait a couple minutes now, let Grubby put down those additional tech buildings, and then try to move that in for that sacrificial scout. Now, over here, knowing the fact that Grubby has expanded and is on 2 bases, right now DarKFoRcE wants to get on 3 bases. That's logical. That makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does. That's the exact kind of thing that you want to do as a Zerg player, because if he didn't do that, and if he didn't come up with this third, his next response would be, okay, I'm going to stick on 2 bases, and I'm going to push super hard. And you pretty much have those 2 choices, and that's about it. Bunch of Zergling Scouts going to be dancing around, sentry-heavy army over here of Grubby, and that's, of course, what you do when you 3-git expand. You just go sentry-heavy, usually with a couple Zealots or a Zealot and a Stalker, anything like that. One Zealot going to be dancing around looking for any stragglers, any extra Zerglings chilling out. In fact, if that one Zealot came across those first Zerglings, he would definitely engage because he could certainly do quite a bit of damage. Taking a look back over here, Expo just about finished getting those extractors down as well. Of course, gonna want that Vespian as he techs and starts to work into the late game. There is that Manx statue. We do have the creep spread over here from DarKFoRcE. Very important, very necessary, very awesome to see him doing that. Creep spread, extra vision, extra speed, pretty phenomenal. Look at this. We get an Overseer. So yeah, going to be scouting with the Overseer. Quite effective once he does have enough energy as well. Dropping Contaminate, very, very effective. Putting that on anything trying to do some research. Putting that on anything that's trying to build any units like that. Those Robos are usually excellent targets. This right here, the Forge, can be an excellent target, slow down any sort of timing push that the Protoss opponent could be trying to go for. And look at this, we do have Hallucinate on the board, so 2 Phoenixes going to be moving across right now for Grubby. Going to be used, obviously, exclusively for scouting, maybe also trying to psych out DarKFoRcE, maybe to force him to make a couple extra queens than he would otherwise if he thinks that these are real Phoenixes. No way for him to tell, except when it attacks something and does no damage, then it's pretty obvious at that point. So just going to be moving around and actually just not even paying attention to that one, sacrificing it, and same thing over there. So yeah, I just wanted to scout the main and the natural, and that's pretty much it. And here comes that Overseer moving on through again, and actually does have enough energy to contaminate. Is he going to do it? Nope, just chilling back right now. So yeah, let's take a quick gander over here. Very gateway heavy. We do have that robotics facility in the bay. Isn't coming yet. Twilight Council coming through as well. Blink Stalkers very likely. There's a Contaminate going down on that Robo, delaying that Observer. Couple sentries, probe, and a Zealot might be actually moving across right now. We do have another Phoenix Scout moving out, hallucinated, of course, so going to be moving back into the main, but could we be seeing some aggression right now? If nothing else, trying to just get map control. We can see he did just kill off that Zergling, but since we do have a probe in the mix here, I'm going to be assuming that we are going to be seeing some aggression. There's really no other reason to bring a probe unless you intend on dropping a proxy pylon. Expo up and running, Roach Heavy looks like what we're going to be seeing. Also, Hydra's coming into play as well. The missile attack level 1 coming on through for DarKFoRcE. Obviously increasing the effectiveness of both those Roaches and the Hydras. Roach Hydra, very popular mix, also transitioning into Corruptors. Pretty standard play, pretty standard fare, I would have to say. Overseer continuing to move in and out. The speed of the Overseer is really, besides the ability to drop Contaminate and Changelings, the speed is really what does it. If you delay or you don't get that Observer speed immediately, having those Overseer Scouts can be very, very effective. Realize, though, 100 Vespian is a lot. You do see actually a lot of Zerg players, instead of this, they just go straight for the Overlord speed. Although, taking a look over here, DarKFoRcE has gotten that Overlord speed as well as that Overseer. But in terms of Zerg, as your layer pops, usually you see that choice. You either get Overlord speed right away or you get the Overseer. It's kind of just a personal preference. Some players would suggest that the Overlord speed is better, but let's stop talking about that random crap. Let's pay attention to the game. We do have a third coming out right now for Grubby, and as soon as DarKFoRcE scouts out, I expect him to move into another base or go for a very strong 3-base push, trying to kill off this pylon. One burrowed Zergling chilling out over there. Looks like there was some lags, but here comes the engagement. Let's take a look at how this plays out right now. There are a lot of sentries right now, and there are the force fields. And DarKFoRcE in a tremendous position in terms of army supply. Look at that, more than doubling what Grubby has. Problem is, though, with all these force fields, he can't get up close enough to Grubby to actually do some damage. Also, his creep spread isn't quite far enough yet to increase the speed of these units. It makes it much harder to actually chase down the Stalker and Sentry heavy army, especially once force fields come into play. Another hallucination, so Grubby just scouting non-stop with that. Now, it does look like DarKFoRcE is going to be trying to push up on this wall off here at the third base of Grubby. Let's see what's going to happen, though. We do have the Sentry army down here. I'm going to inspect those force fields, and there we go again. Not even going to be doing it fully because DarKFoRcE is going to be retreating. realizing that he can't push up on that. He doesn't even really want to bother at this point. It just doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense for him. So going to be forced to retreat, and this is pretty unreal, guys. I mean, taking a look again, look at that, DarKFoRcE doubling the army supply of Grubby, but he just can't do anything. He can't get up close enough to break those force fields. He needs massive units, or he just needs to fight and engage in a position that's not a choke point. But as you can see here, Grubby only forcing him to engage in these narrow pathways, and those force fields, of course, become incredibly effective in those positions. But at this point, Grubby is aware of that third, so it looks like he himself is going to be expanding. Teching up is coming into play. We do have that hive, that layer transitioning into that hive right now. Some additional upgrades right there. Missile attack level 2. Infestation pit is up. Going to be seeing the pathogen glands come up for that as well. A couple stalkers moving on across just to try to harass a little bit. Taking care of those roaches. But look at that blink right up into the high ground. Phoenix giving a vision, blinking up into the high ground, and going to be able to actually get away from this roach army. Did he scout this? He should have. Yes, he did. So right now, Grubby is aware of the fact that DarKFoRcE is on 5 bases, but actually 6, because he does have this high yield. Looks like Grubby is moving down a little bit to try to engage. What is he going to do? Guardian Shield going down. Some nice blink micro. Blink back those stalkers. The force fields again are going to allow him to take care of these roaches and hydras. No problem with these roaches and hydras being rendered ineffective. All of the range units be able to take out of those pretty much completely out of the range of the rest of these, and then just going to pull on back home after that small victory. How frustrating is force fields, guys, as Zerg players? Let me know in the comments. Pretty frustrating, I'd have to say, especially, again, whenever you try to fight in these choke points. Now, realize these sentries are going to eventually run out of energy. He's not going to have this force field action forever, but right as of now, he still does, and is still able to drop those force fields. Looks like the proxy pylon's going down. Grubby might be looking to be aggressive. He does need to do some damage. We have some corruptors in play, but no Colossus as of yet. One Colossus is coming on through, and looks like there's one coming on into play as well, but those are a lot of corruptors, given the fact that there's only one Colossus actually in engagement right now. And here we go, roaches and hydras pushing on down. Is there enough energy? Yes, there is. Able to get that force field wall off again, but those sentries are very low, so the next engagement could be very scary for Grubby. Grubby might want to actually retreat right now, given the fact that he doesn't really have enough to keep up those force fields. You can see right now, can just barely force field with a few of them, but you really can't engage an army much larger than yours if you don't have enough force field action. But it looks like Grubby has actually evened up those numbers right now, so we might feel pretty safe to engage. Couple more force fields going down. Again, doing a bit of damage. One Colossus trying to stay in the back, away from those corruptors. Target fire going down. Almost dropping that one corruptor. Pretty intense. None of force field action going down, but force fields are out right now. Dissipated. He cannot afford them anymore. Roaches and hydras pushing on in. Corruptors target firing down that Colossus, and these roaches and hydras are going to do a lot of damage. Blink stalkers forced to pull away right now. They should be able to get away from that roach and hydra army again without that creep spread. He's really not able to catch up, but you saw as soon as those force fields dissipated how quickly those roaches and hydras were tearing through that gateway heavy army of Grubby. So Grubby forced to push back because of that. Proxy pylon going to get taken care of. I took a look at this in the middle of the fight, but look at this right here. We can see Grubby trying to drop down this Nexus right now, but the Zergling going to deny that. Another Bro Zergling over here. This is going to force an Observer to be brought over here with some attacking units to kill off that Zergling. This is a really cool little tactic, little trick. I like to see players do that, and as a Zerg player, you should try it more often, because this is definitely going to screw up Grubby's game. It's going to delay this expo quite a bit. Here comes another big engagement. Blink Stalkers coming into play, peeling back right now. We do have the Colossus in the back doing a bit of damage, but here come the Corruptors. Going to be target firing down those Colossus as quickly as possible. They're not getting shot at from the Stalkers either. Stalkers blinking away, just trying to stay away from these Roaches and Hydras. The other Colossus getting dropped again. Corruptors doing so much damage. Roaches and Hydras doing a great job. Unfortunately, though, there are too many Stalkers right now. Grubby was able to actually deal with that, push it back. Corruptors going to be forced to pull back right now. 25 Roaches coming on through, though. DarKFoRcE going to be reinforcing this very quickly. Once he has those roaches in play, he should be able to push back this Stalker army. Blinking right under the Observer is going to start peeling these away and taking them away one at a time, getting very close. There we go. Now supply blocked right now. DarKFoRcE is in a supply block, and that's going to be added upon as well with that additional blink. But now with the blink off cooldown, the Roaches are able to do quite a bit of damage at the same time. We have a small little drop going down with Roaches and Hydras. Looks like that was taken care of, though, and the Roaches going to force those Stalkers to pull back right now. They just cannot fight toe-to-toe. They rely on that blink, or they rely on basically heavily outnumbering that Roach count. But with neither of those two things happening, those Roaches were able to fend back right now. Let's take a look. Let's just calm down for a moment. Take a look at the income tab here. We can see resource-wise, Grubby had a slight advantage, but Vespian-wise, in late game, this is really the most important of the resources. DarKFoRcE is definitely in a very strong position right now. Very frustrating right now. As we saw earlier, Grubby was trying to drop this, but wasn't able to do so. It looks like as a result, he's going to be going for this high yield instead. Now, this is not his preferred expansion. This is not his expansion of choice because very easily harassed. This is very difficult. You have to defend two basically wide open paths as well as this air distance. Much harder to defend than having a base right here on your side of the map, basically. So he is going to want to get an observer over there to try to get rid of that Zergling. At the same time, pushing out, trying to kill off some of these creep tumors. Definitely something usage should be doing. We have a couple more Corruptors coming into play, a bunch of Roach and Hydras over here, and what is this? I missed it, Broodlords. So we do have Broodlords in play here from DarKFoRcE, and that's definitely going to help him quite a bit, and that's going to be very hard for Grubby to deal with at this expo. Having a hard time of fighting with these Roaches and Hydras, again, it's just too strong. Looks like he is a bit outnumbered. Yes, he is. DarKFoRcE at 121 as opposed to the 80 supply of Grubby, and this is not looking good. Those Broodlords definitely quite scary, but blinking under the Broodlord, trying to take them out, but some nice transfuses from that Hero Queen right there, saving this Broodlord's life. I'm sure he is eternally grateful right now, but I am a little bit concerned right now for Grubby. Even though he's got Blink Stalkers, this expo is going to be hard to maintain. He should almost cancel it, but no, he lets it come in. This is a bit concerning in all honesty right now. I am not sure that Grubby's going to be able to defend this properly. He does not have the army size, and these Broodlords are very scary as well, even with the Blink Stalkers trying to get right up under them. As long as, DarKFoRcE losing the one there, though. As long as he's able to keep him in the back, he should be okay. Trying to engage, and look at those Roaches and Hydras just tearing through this army here of Grubby, and this expo is next on the target list. Another Broodlord coming into play, going to start trying to work on that as well. And there you go, guys. See you later, expo. Grubby going to be losing this high yield. Right now, he is only on basically 1.5 mining bases. His main is all but mined out. Now going to be pulling down and trying to engage. Managed to drop one of those Broodlords, but is it enough? I don't think so. Fungal Growth right on top. A transition here into Infestors. Loving the Fungal Growth, and of course stops that blink. Stops those Stalkers from being able to pull away right now. So very strong. Also the damage, of course, really nice burrow there from those Infestors as the Stalkers blinked right on top of them to try to take them out. Another Burrowed Infestor there as well, just kind of chilling out like a Jaws theme swimming over there, just chasing him down. Blink Stalker is going to be pulling back right now. A couple of Roaches chilling out over here. If another probe tries to drop this expo, they will be, of course, quickly dispatched by those Roaches. The Stalkers trying to move on through. Those are all very low health, though. And Grubby, not looking good, my friend. This is a really tough situation for you, I'd have to say. Roaches engaging these Stalkers. Stalkers forced to blink back. There are some reinforcements, though. But this is unreal. These Broodlords definitely being the game changer here. We can see Dark Shrine coming out for Grubby. So Grubby going to be trying to return some harassment here. Going to be trying to counterattack with some DT harass, try to work on that economy of DarKFoRcE. We'll be interested to see how quickly DarKFoRcE can deal with it. We do have the Spore Crawler here, so this base is pretty much defended against 1 or 2 DT with that Spine and that Spore, as well as that Queen to drop a transfuse. So he should be okay there. Looks like DarKFoRcE is going to be pushing, but again, Grubby pretty much just on this one mining base, and that is a big problem. Let's take another look at that income tab right now. Definitely in the favor of DarKFoRcE at this point in the game. Certainly no doubt about that at all. So there you go. DarKFoRcE has a stronger economy. He's got the map control. He's in a superior position. No doubt about it right now. Stalkers trying to move forward and engage. This army is just a bit too strong, though, for just those Stalkers to deal with. We have a couple Colossus. That should help. Target firing down those Infestors, but there are a lot of Roaches and Hydras, and those Broodlords making things very difficult as well. Those Colossus are doing quite a bit of damage, though. 5 kills, 4 kills already. I mean, these guys just popped out, and they're already tearing through this army. But those Broodlords, those Colossus definitely have a hard time with. And again, that huge income advantage right now. Keep in mind, again, once more, Grubby just on this base. He's not able to pull here because of that Zergling or here. And obviously that center base isn't really doable for him either. Some more Infestors going out. Fungal Growth taking out those Colossus. See you later. Stopping them from pulling back. Letting those Broodlords, Roaches, and Hydras take them out. Looks like Grubby's going to try to expand right here. But this is going to be pretty much a no-go. I mean, there's really no way. Especially with all these forces of DarKFoRcE basically encroaching onto his third. There's no way he's going to be able to get this fourth here at the high yield. Couple of Roach reinforcements being pulling on in. More Roaches from over there as well. Here come the DT in the mix, though. DT going to be starting to shred through these ground units here. So DarKFoRcE, how is he going to respond? We got one Overseer coming on through. Yeah, so one Overseer. That should do a couple Infestors coming on through. Some additional upgrades there. Grubby really struggling right now, and he really needs to get up that expo. He's going to be in a lot of trouble if he doesn't. 3 more Overseers coming on through. So right now, in anticipation of that DT harassment that he's going to be dealing with, he is going to be coming out with a bunch of Overseers. 1 for the main army, probably a couple for the bases as well. And using the advantage of that DT harass, Grubby going to be trying to get up this Expo right now. So if he can get this up and running, he might be okay. Dealing with the Brewlords is still going to be his issue. Again, attacking with Brewlords from here can just decimate that mineral line when you're trying to gather from this high yield. Very frustrating to deal with. Looks like he's going to come out with an Observer over here too. If he can get these two bases up and running, he might be able to catch up. He is quite far behind. Make no qualms about it. But even though he is quite far behind, if he could get these up and running, he might be okay. Let's take another look at the army tab. DarKFoRcE in a commanding position still. He's been in a commanding position in terms of army size for quite some time now, and as a result, as we've seen, he's just done so much damage. Looks like Grubby is going to be trying to move out though. He wants to try to pick off some units, get some slave victories, and then peel back with those Blink Stalkers. And this is the kind of thing that he needs to do to try to get himself back in the fight. Those Broodlords again sitting right in the middle there at where they're most effective. Roaches, tons of infestors. Wow, what is that? That is 12 infestors. That is a lot, man. Oh man, that is a lot. Coming out that neural parasites, they're gonna be able to do that mind control. And oh, Grubby forced to cancel the Expo. That's not good. He's got another expansion trying to come down over here, but just a couple roaches over there going to be harassing and trying to deal with that. And if Grubby cannot get up this Expo, he is lost. I mean, he's already basically down and out as it is. If he cannot get this up and running, then there's no way. He stands no chance whatsoever. A bunch of Stalkers. We got some DT mix in there as well. Looks like we're going to be seeing an Archon come into play. That can definitely be effective if it manages to get up close, but is it going to be able to get close enough with these Brewlords keeping things at bay? Roach continuing to work here on this Nexus. We can see right now Grubby doing what he needs to do. He needs to come down and defend this if at all possible. If he cannot defend this, he has lost the game. At the same time, though, if DarKFoRcE doesn't even want to push on this army, he could just waltz right in the main right now. So very tenuous situation right now for Grubby. Needs to be careful, blinking away. I'm trying to spread out his units to avoid too much damage from that fungal growth. That's exactly what he needs to do. Observer gets shot. Fungal growth going down on everything. All those Stalkers forced in place right now. Brewlord doing tremendous amounts of damage, and there is the GG from Grubby. Grubby started this game with a 3-gate Sentry Heavy Expand, very popular, very effective tactic as a Protoss player. In scouting the 3-gate expand, DarKFoRcE actually responded by getting up a third, which is precisely what you want to do as a Zerg player, maintain that one extra base from your Protoss opponent. With some hallucinated Phoenix scouts, Grubby did spot the third base of DarKFoRcE and actually decided to come up with a third himself, trying to maintain an advantage over his Zerg opponent. Unfortunately though, at the exact same time that Grubby was dropping the third, DarKFoRcE was moving out with a strong push. Taking a quick look at the army tab, we can see a huge advantage right now for DarKFoRcE, almost doubling the army size of Grubby. But Grubby, Sentry Heavy, was able to force field the Roach Hydra army away from his units. Even though he was vastly outnumbered, he was able to fend off this attack because of the effectiveness of those force fields. Realizing that because of those force fields, DarKFoRcE wasn't able to push upon the army of Grubby, he decided to come out with a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th base. With DarKFoRcE on 6 bases and Grubby just on the 3, Grubby decided it was the time to attack. He's still pretty sentry heavy, a couple of Mortals thrown in the mix, and he had some Colossus on the way, so deciding to try to take advantage of this and do a bit of damage. We're going to see again the effectiveness of those force fields, keeping the army of DarKFoRcE at bay. With those force fields, Grubby pushed up to take out the high yield of Grubby, but then running out of those force fields, the Roaches, Hydras, and Corruptors were able to get up right close onto Grubby's army and just tear through him, and as a result, that did force Grubby to retreat, as we saw here. As Grubby tried to get his 4th base up and running, we can see this Burrow Zergling actually denied that from happening. And rather than dealing with that Burrowed Zergling, we saw Grubby actually opt for getting the expansion at the high yield, which later in the game proved to be a little bit of an issue because it was difficult to defend. DarKFoRcE then transitioned into some Broodlords, which with the Roaches and Hydras as a buffer, allowed him to push up against Grubby's Blink Stalker heavy army and then take out this expansion. And that's the real big issue. Again, that Burrowed Zergling basically forced Grubby to expand over here, and then these Broodlords with, again, this buffer of Roaches and Hydras let him push up against them and take this out very easily. Throwing some DT in the mix allowed Grubby to temporarily push back the army of DarKFoRcE just because he didn't have any cloak detection, but once those overseers came into play, DarKFoRcE then pushed out for an additional attack. Once DarKFoRcE did have that cloak detection, he pushed out and again forced the cancellation of Grubby trying to expand. At this point, Grubby was just way too far behind economically and wasn't able to keep up with the reinforcements and the large army of DarKFoRcE, and that's what forced the GG. There you go, guys. Game number 1 between Grubby and DarKFoRcE. Going to be moving on to game number 2 in just 1 minute. As always, guys, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning.